It seems that if you're not talking about lunch, then you are deeply engaged in your discussions, and that is, of course, good to see. Yeah, basically, what I would like us to do now is simply to kind of summarize in plenum. Unfortunately, we won't have time to kind of. It would, of course, have been interesting to make a kind of second discuss round or whatever to discuss the things that come up, but simply we don't have time for that. It's a relatively short workshop, so yeah, that's just how it is. But maybe we should take one table at a time. I guess that's how it should go. I don't know who. Maybe starting with this table. Yeah, who's?
The guy with the microphone has the power. No, is it on? I think that we had a very vivid discussion, and we actually have a lot of research questions. But I think boiling down to one would be how to get multi-stakeholder involvement in the goal and scope definition of social LCA. Definition of social LCA.
Only social LCA.
All types of LCA, but we are discussing social LCA. Sustainability, SLCA, LCA. I should be used to acronyms, I understand.
Could you maybe say something about why?
I think that the challenge is that either you have the expert approach, and the experts will develop their black boxes, their decision support systems, their software, whatever you name it, and it's like going to Las Vegas. So you trust the machinery, you put in the money you have to pay, and you pull the lever, and there is the result. As soon as you start questioning what's in the machine, you are in trouble. And the other approach is to get people around the table to do the multi-stakeholder involvement, and you have a discussion about what they think is important. So it's in the old days, the methodology for this was called open space. Whoever is here are the right people, whatever they decide was the right decision, blah, blah, blah. But the point being that maybe for each application, you need a different combination of methods, of the modules, of data sources, whatever. And to evolve this, I think that a multi-stakeholder involvement in the goal and scope definition would be the kind of heading for this.
Yeah, I guess the ambition that we had when writing these questions that we should come up with one research question was really not possible in our group. I think, but maybe it kind of relates a little bit to what your group was saying, because we at least. We discussed whether it could all be boiled down to the question of that you need to know the goal of the study to a large extent, and that relates to several questions. First of all, to whom are you communicating the results? You need to. I mean, now we're talking about probably relatively. Complex assessments with also complex results, and you need somehow to be able to communicate that. If you can't do that, then it doesn't really make sense. So this in itself is probably kind of something that could be considered a research topic. And that, of course, also relates to the level on which what are we talking again, as Alessandra brought up, the micro, meso, and macro level. What level of assessment are we talking? This might also the way in which the results should be represented might also be affected here. And when we're talking about the communication of the results, we talked about the need for being able to express qualitative data also, which might not be as easily represented in results as quantitative data. But also when it comes to this was kind of one part of understanding the goal and to whom to communicate the results. Another topic was then again on also agreeing about what is it actually that we want to assess, how do we understand sustainability, how do we interpret or operationalize this term was another thing that we discussed. Yeah, and then there was a lot of other discussions also, but yeah, I don't know. Was that okay? Okay. Yeah, so that's probably, yeah, a summary.
Thank you. I think you kind of took a bit of our ideas as well, so it means we are in the same way of thinking. So, as just to respond to your question, what is the most relevant research question is what kind of response we are trying to identify the problem, how we can harmonize our approach, taking into account the environmental, social, and economical pillars of the sustainability development. How we can harmonize the modeling, going from a European scale into a world scale or from a local scale to a European scale, so how we can do this upgrading. And how we can harmonize the way we communicate to consumers and to industry in language that is understandable to them, because it was one of the points that was that came up during our discussion, was that even if we speak to life cycle assessment practitioners, it's difficult to know exactly, to find the right terminology to address if they are working in one of the other pillars. So it's important to kind of harmonize our approach and harmonize the way we deliver the message to the interested parties. I don't know if I missed something. Yeah.
And then we had also, because we really tried to answer your question, we thought that in the end it's a sequence. First, the areas of protection for sustainability should be clarified, and there's still a lot of discussion, and the decision that is taken there determines the rest of the approach that is taken. Then is a consistent, coherent modeling approach that addresses these areas of protection, and then, as you said, communication, reporting to many different stakeholders is the next level probably, and then in the end, very at the end, standardization, which is then only possible if you agree somehow on the areas of protection. And so we thought your question boils a bit down to where are we in this sequence, and we thought that we are very much still at the beginning, so to define the areas of protection, and then once this is clear, then the rest will also develop, I think.
So it sounds like our group had very similar conversations to the other groups. The question or topic that we chose as our most important topic was just how to communicate results in such a way that it clearly identifies risks and opportunities probably to a company, so interpreting the results in such a way that companies can implement changes to create benefit. And I think our group was focused on that because many of us work with industry. And so we're seeing that there's sort of this push towards sustainability assessment, and then an industry gets the result and says, okay, now what? And so we're working on that part, or we're thinking that's the part that needs to be worked on next. Anything else?
Yes, I will try to summarize what we discussed about. A very good discussion, I would say. just to summarize it in one question, I think that our question is what is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what is the scope and scale of life cycle sustainability assessment? And by this we have, I think, identified two kind of directions. And one is, I mean, how exhaustive this tool can be. I mean, who's going to use it, and where is the boundary of life cycle assessment compared with other tools? Yes, and how flexible can it be, and so on. And the other dimension is more about the nature of LCA. I mean, should we move from relative approaches to more absolute approaches? And I think that's it.
Okay, actually we didn't really manage to come up with only one question, so we have two. And the first one is more methodological question, and is how can complementary sustainability assessment tools be used and interpreted in a combined way, so which includes micro, meso and macro level. And the other question refers more to a practical approach, which is how can existing LCSA tools be put in practice, and this refers mainly to social LCA. So which social aspects should be considered, and how can they be interpreted? So I think all in all, it's more or less similar to the discussions we had before.
I'm just taking the opportunity to invite you all next year in May in Montreal, where we have a seminar on social life cycle analysis to continue trying to answer those questions. So please take a leaflet outside and join us in Montreal with Roland Clift as a keynote speaker on these issues. Thanks.
Okay, thank you all for these comments. That was a little bit faster than expected, but I guess that makes us quite much ready for lunch. There should be, I think, some sandwiches downstairs, right, Anders? No? Nobody knows. Then the opening of the symposium is at 1 o'clock in the big room downstairs. So, thank you all. Maybe I would like to, if the rapporteurs could, because I took some notes, but it was a little bit difficult to kind of to write everything down. So if each of the rapporteurs could please send the kind of summary of what you were discussing to my email address, that would be really nice. If anybody would like to report in the LCSA session about these topics, then I can forward these these reports. But I don't know if anybody has considered that they would like to. You would like to? Okay, great, super. Okay, so yeah, I'll talk to you later about it. Great, thanks. Okay, but thank you everybody. It was I think it was quite interesting, and it was a lot of interesting discussion, I think.